before that test. But remember, the Frere models are your check your understanding questions. That is your practice to make sure that you are ready for your assessments, to grow, to learn, to ask questions. Again, the bell ringer always has that detail of, hey, whatever questions you have, write it on the vertical surface so you can get those questions answered. If you're not practicing and checking your answers, you don't know for sure if you're ready or not, okay? Now, what I want to show you right here is this. So, there's a lot of research that shows when teachers just put a grade on an assignment, an assessment, the learning stops, okay? And what's the whole priority of my class? To learn, right? I don't even care when you learn, I care that you learn, right? And so don't forget that. So what you will find on assessments that I give is you will not see a numerical grade anywhere on there. You won't see a letter grade anywhere on there. You will see these markers that are qualitative feedback that tells you what level of evidence of understanding that I see. Okay? So what you need to think about with these things is the level of evidence that I see. Now, I'm not going to tell you what translates to what grade or anything like that, but obviously, if you are showing me clear, consistent, and convincing evidence of understanding, you know what you're doing, right? Yes, Mr. Kinney, thank you, Ivan, right? Guys, if you are showing me clear, consistent, and convincing evidence of understanding, you for sure know what you're doing. That's a CCC. Now, if everything is justified thoroughly, you're just at a plain CCC. If you're going above and going over the top and justifying your answer thoroughly and there's some extra evidence, then that's a CCC plus. And I'll point this out, you don't even have to come anywhere close to CCC pluses to be earning even 100. Like, I'm not going to tell you again what translates to what grades, but I am going to tell you a CCC plus is not 100%. That is over 100. You don't need that all the time. Okay? I'll show you some situations where you can have a CCC plus. But a CE, what does that CE stand for? Back up. You're reading off the description for how you earn a CE, but what does a CE stand for?
Clear evidence of understanding or student.
Right. So if you see a CE, are you doing pretty well? Are you showing me that you understand what's going on? Yeah, very much so, right? Like clear evidence, you should be like, man, if I'm in a clear evidence or a clear, consistent, convincing evidence, Mr. Kinney can see that I know what I'm talking about. Now, we can start getting into the DEs, and this is not really where you want to be, but if you see a capital letter DE, it's still okay, but what does that DE stand for? Developing evidence of understanding, right? So that means you're in the process of showing me evidence of understanding, and so DEs are pretty good still. Where do you not want to be? An LE, right? So if there's LE, there's little evidence of understanding, okay? Now, I'm going to talk through some of the LE stuff because I need you to hear me clearly on this. First off, I need you to understand, this is not saying you don't know what you're doing, this is just saying I don't see evidence. Now here's the thing, and this is what I need you to pay attention to because you are probably used to putting a correct answer and moving on, but do I just want to claim? No, I also want reason, the evidence and the reasoning, right? That shows depth of understanding. It's more evidence that you understand what's going on. It also allows me to give you better feedback and see what's going on there. So, if you give me a correct answer, by the way, if you look at, actually, I haven't given it back yet, but if you look at one of the back questions says, hey, is this categorical or quantitative data? I mean, you got a 50-50 shot there, right? Does you writing down categorical or quantitative correctly really tell me if you truly understand it? No. So if you put a correct answer, but there are no relevant details in a justification, I don't really see the evidence of your understanding. That's not what I'm looking for. You want to show evidence, right? Evidence and reasoning. If you get an answer wrong and there's no explanation, you're going to earn an LE minus. LE minus is where you don't want to be. If you don't answer a question, if you just put an answer without any evidence of how you got that, that's an LE minus. So that's where we don't want to be. Overall, Do the LEs, DEs, CEs, and CCCs make sense? Okay? And once again, when I give you your assessment back, you're about to have time to work within your group to improve your understanding. And at this point, I have actually already scored it. I have given a minute amount of feedback, but I've also made scans of it. So this is yours to write whatever you want on it. You can write notes on the DYU. You can write notes on a separate sheet of paper that you put with the DYU. This is yours. I will not take it back up. It is yours to help you study for the test. Okay? Because I don't care when you learn it. I care that you learn it. Learn from your mistakes. Just like I talk about with Alex all the time. Hey buddy, is it okay if we make mistakes? And his reaction, just like I'm sure most of yours are, no. And we talk about it every time. Hey buddy, it's okay if you make mistakes. We just have to learn from it. Okay? Now, the last thing I do want to point out, because this is a little confusing for students, there is an explanation down here what the lowercase letters mean on your DYU. But if you look up here, right, if you are seeing a P, you made a procedural error. Hey guys, I want you to hear me clearly on this, because this is the beauty of this rubric. There are times when you make a mistake, a procedural mistake, but you understand what you're doing, and I know that because you explained correct ideas. If you can correctly explain ideas, but you just make a mistake, does that mean you don't know what's going on?
No.
No. So you can earn a DE plus and even a CE if you just made a small procedural mistake, but you explained your ideas well. That's why I want evidence of understanding. You can make mistakes and still understand things. Show me what you understand. If you ever see a lowercase c, there's times when you have correct ideas, there's times when you get the correct answer, but you have a misunderstanding. The way I know that you have a misunderstanding is because you misexplained something. That C stands for a conceptual misunderstanding. You are misexplaining something. And then finally, if you see a lowercase d, that means you are missing details in your justification. So those lowercase letters are letting you know why you're not scoring the CCC. Maybe it's explaining why you got a CE or a DE plus, but the P stands for a procedural error. You made a mistake in your response. One of the common places was at the top on the back side, there was actually two different types of bias involved, and some of us only put under coverage or only put non-response. There's two types of bias. Well, you made a procedural mistake. And there's a lot of people who score DE pluses because they perfectly explained one of the biases, which means you have developing evidence, but you missed one, right? There's times when I saw students have the correct answer and they had a lot of the correct details, but they misexplained something. Well, if you are misexplaining something, that probably means you have the right overall idea, but that one single misunderstanding can affect you in the future so that you make more mistakes in the future. You know what I don't want you to do? I don't want you to make mistakes. Now, is it okay if we make mistakes? Yes. We just got to do what with those mistakes, Ivan? What do we got to do with those mistakes? What do we got to do with those mistakes? Fix them. So we need, how do we fix them? Yes, but there's an L word. We learn from them. Guys, it's okay to make mistakes. We just got to learn from them. That's how we fix mistakes. All right? So, at this point, I'm going to pass back your DYU from yesterday, and I want you to work within your group to improve your understanding. I gave a little bit of feedback. Take advantage of your group to ask each other questions, to help each other learn and grow. And what I will ask is that you actually put your consensus answers on the vertical surfaces. It's like when you're working on 1B, put your answers on 1B so I can give you feedback. Don't forget, don't just give me a claim. What else do I want? Evidence and reasoning. All right, so let's give you some check your understandings. So if you want more practice with it, so I'm going to give you all check your understandings tomorrow to go with bias and the sampling techniques. And if you do those on your own, you come in during the bell ringer and say, hey, Mr. Kenny, can we go over this? 100%. So again, that's the point. All right, guys, pause and listen. All right, so let's talk about a couple of details. One, I need y'all to hear me clearly on this. Hopefully you're seeing and noticing that I legitimately am trying to get you to build your understanding to go deeper, right? Parker literally said at the end of this, I'm just trying to learn something, right? Guys, all I care about is you trying to learn something. I don't care when you learn it, I do care that you learn it. You're capable of amazing things. Let's take it seriously. Now, I think it was Jess or Parker asked the question, like, are we gonna get more practice with this bias stuff before the test? And I know I've given you some resources, some practice questions, but I'm gonna give you a new Freire model for bias and sampling techniques so that you can have practice with it. So I'm in class not going to go over bias and sampling techniques anymore. You have the DYU, and I will say that, Parker, if you come in tomorrow and you're like, Mr. Kinney, I didn't get to this question in class yesterday, but I tried working on this and I still have a question. The bell ringer being, ask whatever question you want to. That's the point of the bell ringer. Like, if you are being personally responsible for your learning, I'm going to answer every question you got. Now, if we haven't tried to do anything, not going to answer questions, but if you've tried and you got genuine questions, I'm here to help you grow and learn, okay? So, but also, how did we feel about taking that time to analyze the DYU in our small groups and get questions answered? Did we like that? It was all right?
Well, actually, it was great.
Okay, it was helpful for some of us, hopefully.
Yeah.
It looks like it was very helpful for a lot. So, this is one of the things I will point out. I, as a teacher, am always doing new things to try to help students. I've never done that before. I wasn't sure how it would go. And it was a little slow to get started, but I feel like long term, a lot of us got into it and learned from it. We got to maintain that energy in the future, because if we choose not to engage during that time to work with each other and grow and learn, then we're going to quit doing it. But I think it can be helpful, okay? So please take advantage of that time, work in our small groups to get those questions answered. Again, if you are redoing some of the demonstrated understanding questions and you get, like, Mr. Kinney, I think I got this right, but I want to go over it, awesome. If you do check your understanding to build your understanding, and you're getting questions wrong, you need to ask about it. Fantastic, ask those questions. One thing I do want to point out about the check your understanding, because this will now make more sense, if you check your answers on the check your understanding, all I have provided are the claims. I have not given evidence or reasoning. So you do and should practice identifying evidence and reasoning to go with those claims. If you're not confident in your evidence or reasoning, then ask. That's a great thing to ask at the beginning of class. The last thing I want to point out is, I'm hoping that we start to see this. What is something that we need to include in our evidence and reasoning every time that could have helped each of us a ton?
Explain it. Different reasons.
Explaining the reasons, but like, what's part of explaining the reasons? What do we have to go back to as part of our evidence and our reasoning?
I don't know.
Something I told y'all from the beginning to pay attention to. How did you know, huh?
Inference.
Well, that's what we're trying to get to, but how did you know when you had a subjective sample? So the
key detail that was in it?
The key details,
We're reading it?
yeah, so the key details that tie into the definitions. Guys, you gotta know what those terms mean. If you don't take the time to study your terms, it's really hard. If you don't take the time to study the term population and know that the population is all the individuals that I could be interested in, and that the sample is the individuals included in the study, then you're going to have problems, right? We've got to make sure that we take the time to study those definitions. Those definitions should always come into play so that we are demonstrating our understanding. Definitions matter. Attention to detail also matters, right? So pay attention to those things. But let's get started with the next little activity. What time do we get out of here? I have it over
Please
here.
say soon.
11:30? 11:30. All right. So we got 13, 14 minutes to get started on the next thing. There it is. Oh, and just remembered a couple of things I do want to point out. Be careful, because I was reading this on some people's, remember, categorical versus quantitative data. The response is a category, is categorical data. The response is a quantity, meaning that the response is from what? How do you know when you have quantitative?
It's actually to measure something.
So counted or measured. By the way, notice again how I'm going back to the defining characteristics or the definition of what the thing is. So pay attention to that. Responses are categories, responses are quantities. That's what you need to be careful about there. There was something else that was throwing a lot of us. Oh, number 7, no, number 6 was the one about Uber, right? The OOBER. Hey, it asks for 2 types of bias, and I think this threw some of us off, but there's 2 different types of response bias.
That was number 9.
No 5.
Nope.
Wait.
About Uber,
That's number 6.
Oh, yeah,
number 6. There were 2 types of response bias. So it asked for 2 sources of bias. Both sources of bias were response bias. There was no non-response, there was no undercoverage. There was 2 types of response bias. Okay? Granted, I never would have thought about it, I just saw it over here. The way the Queens talked about it is, if you had a bad experience, you might delete the app, which would create what type of bias?
Non-responsive.
No. It would create undercoverage. Guys, if you deleted the app, could you even be included in the data? No, so I never would have thought about that. That's a good idea, Dean. So that's again though why you got to justify it. Because if someone had just said, hey, it's undercoverage bias, I would not have given credit. If you had said, hey, there's undercoverage bias because if you had a bad experience, someone might have deleted the app. Oh dang, that's something I never would have thought of, but that's pretty strong evidence right there, right? So justification matters. All right, so think about those things. So we did the observational studies review, the DYU review. Now we're going to get into experiments versus observational studies. So I had not assessed you on this yet, right? It originally was on the assessment, I told y'all not to do it. But we need to learn the difference between an observational study and an experiment. All right? Now, so don't forget, we are actually done with the Unit 1A proficiency scale. We need to be able to identify and also write questions that require categorical versus quantitative data, and we need to be able to identify and write statistical versus non-statistical questions. You got to be able to do both of those. We need to be able to identify sample, population, and characteristic of interest. If you haven't done your check and understanding questions that are directly about this might be a good time to practice and check yourself. Identifying sources of bias, and I think some of us forgot that I actually gave y'all like an 8-question long thing that says extra practice at the top. It's not in the Frere model format, but it says extra practice at the top. That's where the stuff about bias is and the importance of randomization. Don't forget, we added 3 terms onto this sheet. We should have undercoverage bias, we should have response bias and non-response bias, right? So on your proficiency scale, you should have added those terms, right? So there are sampling techniques that are biased innately, but then we also had undercoverage, response, and non-response. All right, we're moving past observational studies. What are we getting into? What's Unit 1B about? Collecting data for experiments, right? So the whole unit is collecting data, talking about experiments right now. So notice, hopefully, you're going to master this even more moving forward, categorical and quantitative, statistical versus non-statistical. We're going to continue with that. But right here, I can identify if bias or if confounding is an issue in a given study. Should we be able to identify bias?
Yes.
Do you know what confounding is yet? That's why this is blue, because that's what we're trying to learn, right? Green is something we've already learned. Blue is what we're trying to learn. And so here are the terms that we're about to get into within this lesson. Your explanatory and response variable, identifying if a study is a survey, observational study, or an experiment, and then those other terms down in blue, okay? So here's what we're looking at. Would you fall for that? So we're going to watch a little quick video. Can someone hit the lights, turn them off, please? Thank you. Why are you silent? Hold up.
This network, ABC's a rather eye-opening look at human behavior as the social experiment continues on this network. ABC's Nick Watt, the host of a great new show, Would You Fall for That, joins us now from Los Angeles. And Nick, tonight you are putting the placebo effect we hear so much about to the test.
That's right, Josh. I mean, you know that we're all about science on this show. Well, not quite. It's a lot of fun as well. Tonight, the placebo effect. If you think something's going to make you feel better, then it might. And it's summertime, so for this one, we headed to the beach.
We
set up a booth on the boardwalk at the beautiful Jersey Shore one sweltering hot day. Old vacationers were shooting an infomercial for a fabulous new energy drink. We had t-shirts and posters. We even had our very own Whip Power energy drink banner day. Oh, and one tiny little secret. Whip is nothing more than club soda. If you believe a pill will make you...
I do just want to pause and point this out. Do y'all know why they're calling it Whiffed power drink? Anyone pick up on it?
Lift?
Or any Whiffed
Power.
or energy drink, whatever they called it? Have you picked up on it yet? Because it took me a second to realize it, and then when I realized it, I was like, oh, would you fall for that?
No. Alcohol.
What?
No,
Would-
that's good God.
Would you fall for that?
Will. Like, I ain't know how to understand it.
Well, it's up there, but with.
Better than it just might. If you believe an energy drink will make you stronger, it just might. Even if it's just club soda. It's a great trick our minds play on us. So all we did was tear the labels off of club soda bottles and stick on our own. Whip, would you fall for that? Would you actually feel stronger after a few gulps? You will be amazed.
What we got going on right here is the Whipped Energy Challenge. We're promoting a new drink, and it shows immediate results. Who wants to step up and take it? It's totally free. Who's got 'em?
First up, we invite our passers-by to test their strength with a classic carnival high striker. Swing the mallet, try to lift the bell. 7. Now, Keith, that's respectable. It's not stellar. So Shearer's going to give you some whiff right now, and we will increase your performance. Whiff. So Keith chugs the whiff, and I tell him some highly convincing nonsense about what's in it. It was discovered by Philip Monroe, who won the Tour de France in 1998. Then we get him to shake his thing, get the whiff pumping through those veins.
Punch all those distractions out of your life. Don't punch me. Punch everything else out.
Back to the high striker to see just how much stronger whiff has made him. Will he get a better score? Stand back, boys. Keith is on fire. Yeah! 10. Just like that. Keith has become a strong man. If you're wondering if we rigged that high striker, the answer is absolutely not. It's the placebo effect at work, and Keith fell for it. And also tonight, I think one of the most terrifying things I've ever tried to do, I tried to marry a total stranger, someone we pull off the street. I tried to marry that person to one of our co-hosts. The results, shocking, astonishing, unbelievable.
All right. So, we're just going to do this part a little bit together. Actually, no. Y'all go ahead and talk with your group, describe what you saw in the video, write that down, and we'll discuss in just a minute. So 60 seconds or so, talk with your group first. Remember, talking helps you get your ideas flowing.
You got the bias? That's what you I'm gonna try to figure it out.
Can you know,
I'm listening.
I use it for an example, but you know, it's an effect, I don't know what it's called, but it's like if you think you're drinking, like alcohol,
Yeah.
you can actually get drunk, but it's not drinking alcohol. It just, like, it's a delusion. Oh, that was called, I saw it on TikTok, and I looked it up, and it was real, it was real.
I know. It's called the placebo effect.
Okay, how you spell that?
We'll go over in a second.
What you say, placebo or placebo?
No, it says
Placebo.
Oh! It's in my face the whole time.
I seen a man project that his strength,
Yep.
that he grew much.
I'm tripping. I'm tripping. Would you fall for the placebo effect? Yes. Good.
Okay. So we will finish this up tomorrow, but describe what we saw in the video. What happened?
A man believed
Yeah,
that
placebo effect.
So the man believed what?
he grew
He got
stronger.
Believed that he got stronger. So the man, why did he believe he got stronger?
Because he jumped some wheels.
So the man drank,
He fell for the head.
whiffed, kind of, and believed he got stronger. So what happened?
He put more force into the swing.
So he swung harder. As I'm almost done, let's not pack. Or he swing harder. But the drink was a what? Right, so it was a placebo. It did nothing. Hey guys, chill. You need this information. We need to recognize that what Finney was talking about, you said there's this thing where if you believe that you're drinking alcohol, it can actually make you drunk, right? The mind is really powerful, and so we're going to talk more about an experiment, but one of the tenets of an experiment is the placebo effect, is to test, is it actually something happening, or is it just you thinking something's happening?
So you telling me if I'm
So
drinking
one
water,
shot,
but I
another
think
not
that's
shot.
all I
If you believe, so like, if you're drinking water, do you believe it's alcohol? Okay,
But if you're
so,
around people
but if
Hey,
you
I'm not
believe
saying for the
people are
number.
drunk, you're acting drunk, then yes, the mind is a powerful thing.
I'm going to one.
Huh? Good.